Last week up. Hopefully by tomorrow. Like I said, this week has been just crazy with all sorts of stuff going on at home. But anyway, and now the project's opening up, so that'll take a second. What's the lag? Are we on? Are we up to speed? Good. Thank you. This is the fun part, right? All right, well, that's good. Awesome. All right, so here we are. And you'll see immediately that your console has errors in it because that's the way it's supposed to be, right? You'll see if you go to the console, you'll see there's 3 errors there, right? And look, it even says semicolon expected. What do you think's missing there? So let's open our C# project the correct way by going to Assets, Open C# Project. Because we have to correct these errors before it will even run, right? So there's 2 parts of this. One, you want to fix the errors so that it runs, right? Step 1. But they can take place at the same time, right? But the second one is you want the code to be clean, i.e. the indentation must be correct, right? Let's go to my notes real quick. Code cleaning notes, right? First. Oh, boy. All errors must be corrected. Code must be clean. And what does that mean? That means brackets must match, blocks must be correctly indented, right? That's a big deal, right? The indentation of your code, the compiler doesn't give a crap about it, right? You can have it all over the place, and the compiler, as long as it parses, it doesn't care, right? The indentation's for you to easily see visually how your code is kind of structured, right? And if you don't do it correctly and you give it to a real programmer and they look at your code and it's not indented properly, they won't hire you. They'll say that you're amateur and go away. Right? So that's why it's important. And if you're an artist, just learn it. I mean, artists should be have an eye towards clean line, right? So for them, it should be important just because it brings sanity to your code, right? But anyway, let's go over here, and here we are, right? So this is what you have to clean up. And you see the squigglies already in there, so you know there's errors there. You can go to Unity and see, read these errors here, right? You should know that when it says like this, right? I'm going to copy that. I'll put it in the notes. All right, so that's the error you're seeing, right? Note that this, when it says 1137, that's like the coordinates of the error, right? It's saying that that's line 11, and it's actually character 37 of that line, right? So if you go to 11 right here, right, and to show you that there's a way of seeing which character you're on. But anyway, you don't need that, right? Your problem here is what? So what is the program supposed to do when it's functional? Well, you'll find that out when you get it functional. That's the point. When you get it to run, you'll see what it does, right? I don't tell you that. You're opening it up without knowing what it's going to do. All right, so the first thing is obviously, right, it says semicolon expected, right there. So that's obvious. That's an obvious error because if you look on the line 11, indeed, it ends without a semicolon. So you just put a semicolon in there and save it, right? Check back to Unity and see if it already went away, right? So now we got a 2719 and it says semicolon expected. So 27 right here. And indeed, there is another semicolon missing there, and you just put it in there. All right, so that should take care of that. And then we see a curly bracket expected on line 46. So we go to 46, and we see that this one's a little harder to see, right? The curly bracket thing is important because they should all match up. For every opening curly bracket, there has to be a corresponding closing curly bracket, right? So you want to go through here. If you click on a curly bracket, I don't know if you can see that, but if you click to the left of a curly bracket, it'll show the corresponding closing curly bracket. Like that. It kind of highlights them. In this kind of color scheme, it's kind of hard to see, and same thing for the closing curly bracket. It'll show the opening one, right? So we'll see that those match up. What does that match up with? It doesn't appear to match up to anything, does it? Which is a problem because it should. Note that when you click on the top one, it doesn't match up with anything either, right? All right, so what does that mean, right? So what exactly is this one here then, right? Oh, if you click on that one, you'll see that it actually matches up with the update right here, right? So this is actually closing the update function, and this is up when I try to add a curly bracket, the program freezes and I can no longer edit the code. That's weird. Let's see if I can do it. Right? It shouldn't do that. I think that's just an error in your Visual Studio or something. Exception typing. Yeah, I don't know what that is. I would just force quit it and try it again because that shouldn't happen. I don't know. So you see that I've added it in mine, and I didn't get that. I didn't get that. All right. Now, once you, all right, when I try to add a color break the update function, and I already, you don't really need to add one of the update function. You add it to the end of the file here. So I'm not sure. I'm not sure what happened there. It's hard for me to diagnose that. Did anybody else have that issue? Let me get through this, and then we'll talk about that issue if it's still happening at the end of class, because I don't know what's going on with that. That's weird. All right, so I'm worried that if I save and exit that it'll be stuck like this. I thought it was frozen up. Freezes for a few seconds, then I can no longer edit the code. I try to type anything, nothing happens. If I try to backspace, I get an error. And you've restarted Visual Studio and Unity, or just... And when you opened it by going to Open C# Project, I guess. I don't know. I don't know what's going on there. I mean, you might try closing Unity and Visual Studio and try and restart. I don't know. I really don't know. I haven't heard that error. I haven't heard that problem before, and nobody else is having that issue. Take it. Anyone else having that issue? And I'm not saying you're causing it. I'm saying that something sounds like it's wrong with Visual Studio personally. I don't know if it can be updated. You might update Visual Studio. It's always asking me to update it, but I usually don't. But when things are going wrong, that's usually the time I'll update, because just Visual Studio. Yes, I all right. Well, I'm going to go ahead and finish doing this, and then we can talk about it, because there's not much left to do, really. All right. So once we close that curly bracket problem, we get other errors because it can now... Let's just do this. Display text does not exist in the current context. Now, that's a very common error, right? Anybody know what that usually means? You forgot to assign a variable. It can mean that. It can mean several different things, right? Forgot to actually declare the variable, right? Or it can be that you misspelled the name of the variable, and therefore the compiler sees it as a new variable altogether, right? Misspelled. Compiler sees it as an undeclared, and it is still an undeclared variable, because a misspelled, if it's misspelled or the capitalization is different, as far as the compiler goes, it's a totally different variable. And if you didn't declare it first and you're trying to use it, then it's the same thing, right? And those are the two main things, right? So let's look at it says what, line 12. We go here to line 12. It says display text, right? Well, if you look up where we declared it, it's a lowercase d, isn't it? Right. So we come in here and just go boop, and that error goes away. We check back, and indeed it does. All right, and the name timer does not exist in the current context. Let's go where that is. Timer. Again, we declared it as a lowercase t. Here I use the uppercase t, so we want to go timer like that. And then the name S does not exist in the current context. So I keep doing this over and over again. The s is lowercase s, right, as a parameter to the function, and I use uppercase here. There we go. You'll note that the indentation of this when it started was all wonky. One thing about Visual Studio that helps you out is that once you get the brackets right, it actually fixes the indentation just fine. So there's really nothing. There's only one thing wrong with this, and actually, it used to be an error. It is not apparently an error anymore. I'm gonna see if it's gonna run. It used to be in C#. You'll note that this is a function right here, right? Void foo. You'll note that it's inside the update function, right? It's defined inside another function. That error happened again. Well, I want you to try to do this if you can before you do anything else. If it's running, I want you to take this function out, cut it, use Command X, cut, and then put it outside of there. Right? Because it used to be an error to do that, and I don't know if that's causing an issue. Right. Typically, you don't want to define, and it used to be you could not define a function inside of another function. Personally, I don't like the fact that they allow that now, apparently, but I think it leads to poor code writing. But for my sake, I pulled it outside of the update function. All right, and now it should run. So we're gonna check it out. There are no errors. All right, let's see what happens. All right, so we get a counter. And yes, that is a... All right. I thought that's what it was supposed to look like by default. I was trying to add a bracket between foo and the update function. Well, maybe that's what caused it. I don't know. See if you can make it look like this. And I don't know. Maybe that'll help. I don't know. I haven't had anybody have that exact issue before. The lowercase s. Yes, because see the foo string s, right? All right, so mine's running. It's working. All right, as far as indentation goes, like I said, Visual Studio has gotten pretty smart about the indentation. It works.
Yes, I'll be in a minute.
It works like it's supposed to, right? So, but just the rules for indentation, should it not work that way, right? Because you can turn that feature off. Indentation, right? Every time you type a curly bracket, opening curly bracket, right? The next line should be tabbed over once to the right. Every time you type a closing curly bracket, the next line should be tabbed back to the left. Alright, so hold on, got something else. There are inconsistent line endings in assets, some are back. Um, are you well? There's usually like a fix button on that. The cause with that, if you're on a Windows machine, you open my project on a Windows machine, but the project was created on a Mac. It usually doesn't cause Visual Studio to crash, but maybe it's an older, maybe the code's older and it's causing some weird things to go on. You might try to see if there's a convert lining. Usually when it gives you that error, it gives you the option to go ahead and fix the line endings, but I don't know why it's not doing that. Anyway, just look at this real quick. So, as I was saying, note that the code starts all the way at the left margin, right? And we go down here until you see this curly bracket, and look, the very next line, it's tabbed over, one tab, right? And you keep it that level until you get to the start function, right? And then you have a curly bracket, and the very next line tabbed over. Stay there until we get the closing curly bracket, and it's tabbed back underneath. Note that there's two styles of, let's see, I was able to fix it and it seems to be working now. What worked was control Xing the foo function. So you cut it and put it where I put it. Is that what you're saying? Yes. Then it may well be that it wasn't giving me an error and it didn't crash mine, but it used to be you could not have. The reason I put the function inside the update function was that used to be an error and you couldn't do it. And I think C# languages are always evolving, right? And what they usually call is the kind of inline functions, right? And it used to be an error to do that. So that's why I put it in there. But I'm glad it's working now. All right, so anyway, there's two styles of curly bracket placement. Note that here in the start function, I have the name of the function and then the curly bracket underneath. This is my preferred method. But there's sometimes in blocks like this, the if statements, when they're really short, a lot of programmers prefer to put the curly bracket on the line, the first line, instead of doing this right here, right? You could do that. The main thing is you want to be kind of consistent in how you do it, right? And this is one of these debates that programmers will get into, which one of these styles is more, pleasing to the eye or whatever. But I mean, this style does take one extra line, but the benefit is that the brackets are lined up exactly with each other, right? I don't care which method you use. It's good to keep them consistent, though. Like I said, sometimes on really short blocks, I'll do that just to save some space. But usually for functions, I always go down in the next line so that these brackets are lined up exactly, if that makes any sense. So if everybody's done this one right now, I'm going to create another clean me assignment, so that you'll have something else to practice on. And then that'll be the actual assignment, and I'll hope to get that up by this evening and maybe tomorrow morning, okay? All right, so I will also note to myself I need to make a number guessing game available. So if anybody that wants to try the number guessing game, they can. Like I said, I think I'm going to make it optional this semester. But we might, if you're in 213, which everybody needs to be in 213, please, or else, they're gonna, yeah, I don't know. I need as many people in 213 as possible, or else they'll cancel the class, and then that would not be good. But we might do the number guessing game at the start of 213, kind of circle back around. School politics, am I right? Yes. Well, I mean, it's money, really. I mean, if you don't have people in your class, then the college isn't making money, and they don't like that, because that's what makes the world go round. And enrollment's down all across the nation, really, because just like y'all, everybody's kind of burnt out on this whole virtual thing, and we're all struggling, but just got to keep powering through. But hopefully, please, if you haven't registered, this is number one, right? Let me know, and we will get you registered for next semester, because we really need you in there. You need to be in there so you can learn, obviously, and I need you in there so I can keep my job. But let me know about that. All right, are there any questions about the code cleaning? Like I said, I'm gonna create another project that's broken, so that you can actually try again, right, without me walking you through every step. And that'll be the assignment. I will put the number guessing game up so that you can take a look at it, and if you want to try it, you can do that. Next week we'll get back to the book, and the next couple weeks we'll see how far we can get in that, but we're not going to get through it all, it doesn't look like. And we might pick that back up in 213 as well. All right, any questions? Because that's about all I have for today. All right. Anybody else? None that I can think of. I can stop recording now.